Welcome to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hi everyone, welcome back to PhotoshopUser TV. We are brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, who bring you PhotoshopUser magazine.
What? A special holiday gear guide issue?
Holiday gear guide. Be sure to check that out. You should have it by now. If you don't, go get it, please. And there it goes. All right, you can have that. You can have that issue. I am joined today by Mr. Arce Concepcion.
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing today?
All right, and of course, over in the Weather Center, Mr. Pete Collins.
I know, it was just.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We were just talking about this during the show. I'm just like, dude, these are the two anchors of the show. Yeah, he's sitting over in the weather station.
I love the weather station.
I'm like,
He likes the multi display setup and everything.
I like to be able to swivel. I like to be able to swivel.
Ah, see. And my problem is that I was always wearing shorts, so I always felt like fat guy in the rolly chair. It was one of those things where it would wig me out, dude. I don't know what it was. But very uncomfortable moment. Give us a quick segue.
I think we should. With that, we will go over to Pete because he's going to bring us our first tip of the day. Pete, what have you got?
Hey guys, well, I've got a tip for you out there that are artists, like to draw or need to mock certain things up. And this is basically what I came up with. This is kind of the final product that I was working on an illustration. And when I first started, I show you, here's the beginning. But when I first started out, it was something like this. It was a rough sketch. I had an idea of what was going on. And I needed to figure out all my perspective lines. And especially if you look back here, I had all these bricks. And if you work with perspective, it can be a little challenging to make sure everything lines up, everything works out all right. And so I was like, there's got to be a better way to do it in Photoshop that's going to make it easier for me to work with this. And so what I did is I actually tapped into one of Corey Barker's tutorials to figure out a little bit better about how to use the filter of the vanishing point. But here's a little tip for you. If you haven't used vanishing point, you're going to want to have whatever you're going to use in vanishing point as loaded up as a selection. So what I did is, I know I wanted to use a brick wall. So what I did is I opened up this as a stock image, and I simply hit Command or Control A to make a selection of all of it. And then I just hit Command C and make a copy of it that's now on my desktop. It's just sitting there waiting. So now if I go back to the sketch here, I've got a new blank layer that I'm now going to do filter and vanishing point. Now what happens is you get this thing and it's like, what the heck is it? And it can look a little scary. One of the things is it sometimes will carry on with anything you've done in the past. So if you've got an extra large grid like this, you may need to just kill it. Okay, so now what I know I want to do is I want to get the right perspective of this wall back here. And it comes off to the end here, and then it's going to bank at 90 degrees over here. So vanishing point makes this very easy. The second icon up here says Create Plane Tool. And I know I want down here is the bottom of my wall, and I'm just going to go straight up the edge of the wall and go up a little higher because the way my drawing is, it's going to go off the surface of the plane of the canvas. So I'm going to go up a little higher, and now I just drag this out, and I'm going to it makes a nice little box. Well, once you do that, you get a grid, you can see a little bit more easily how the perspective is going to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to need to zoom in a little bit, out a little bit, bring this up, and you can change your grid size, and you can make it smaller grids, larger grids. You can kind of set it up to actually, the great thing about this is I can make it look a lot like a brick wall, even with just the grid. Once I get that set up, there's the thing of making this wall turn the corner. Well, the good news is if I hold down and hover right over this icon right here, this little handle right here, and hold my control button, I can pull out, well, it helps if I get it. Let's get it right here. Command button, that would explain it. I know y'all never do that, you hit the wrong button, but I did. Hit the command button and you pull out a secondary grid. And what that's doing is it's doing a 90-degree angle off of the first grid. Well, the truth is I need to rotate that around a little bit, so I just take my Alt button and I grab it and I start swinging that handle until it lines up with the right angle that I like. And now once I've got that set up, here's the thing that you need to do. That seemed a little complex, but it's really easy once you do it once or twice. You just set up, get the angles, the lines you want, swing it around, and now I'm just gonna hit Command or Control V and paste in that brick wall that I had. It doesn't look like anything's happening until I start to move it around just a little bit. And now you can see the beauty of Vanishing Point is that brick wall is actually interacting with that grid, and you can see it's making a turn in that corner there. And I can hit Command or Control T, and I can actually change the size of this, move it around, and I've got all kinds of control to get that brick wall exactly how I want it. And now I hit OK, and that brick wall is already established right there that I can then start to draw in my brick wall, and I've got that guideline set up all by using Vanishing Point. So it doesn't have to be just for art, but it's a great way to use Vanishing Point to really set up any type of composition that you're going to have that requires perspective. Use that to get everything set up, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. And so then you can take it and do something like that and walk away, and people go, oh, beautiful brickwork. And you go, yes, that's right.
Did you get those TPS reports turned in, by the way?
Yes, TPS reports are due right there.
Right there.
So notice the red stapler for those of you that are knowing. Yes, this is a little homage to Office Space, but there we go. And they are stunned in silence.
Stunned silence, indeed. That was cool, though. No, and I love Vanishing Point. It's really good for so many different things. You know, honestly, I've never actually used it in illustration. Funny as that may sound.
Well, see, when I started it, I tend to want to do things on my own. You know, we get into this rugged, I'm going to do it, I'm not going to use any help, and I'm going to figure all this out. And I started trying to do the bricks need to go from the top where it was higher. It was a unique perspective. They're fatter, and then they're going to get smaller as they go down. And I found myself that I started out with bricks this big. By the time I got to the bottom, the bricks were like this big, and I'm like, that's too much work, and it doesn't look right. And that's where I said, you know, let's work smarter instead of harder here, and let's bring something in, and I could just knock out those bricks. And I don't copy it exactly, but I use it as a guide to go in there and work it out, and then I know my perspective's right.
Pete's crazy.
Pete is crazy.
Crazy like a fox.
Crazy like a fox.
Okay,
Let's do this.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break.
No. Yes.
No? Okay. When we come back, you've got a tutorial on Abraham.
Something like that.
Stick around.
It's really cool.
You're going to want to see this. Welcome back to another episode of PhotoshopUser TV. RC, Corey Barker. We have Mr. Pete Collins over there in the back. And this episode is brought to you by MPix. Obviously, if you're a photographer, you want to make sure that you're out there producing and not necessarily worrying about printing and organizing and selling and doing all these different kinds of products. If you go to the MPix website, you'll see that they have a ton of different products available to you here at mpix.com. So we have signature and 100% recycled papers. If you want to sell something, just click on the product section. There are tons of different things, from prints to decor to cards to photo books to calendars. If you go to all products, forget it. So you want to make sure that you offer the most to your clients when you're doing photography. This is the best place to do it. It's the place that I go to. It's the place that Matt goes to. Pete goes to it. We all print at MPix. Matter of fact, you had your entire house done.
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff in my house just recently done through MPix stuff. And there is what still blows me away about MPix is how quick the turnaround is. I mean, you can upload some stuff and then you can have it within a couple of days, and the quality is unbelievable. It doesn't look like they rushed it. I mean, they package it well. They do everything so well and so fast. I don't know anybody else that does it that good. So.
For more information, make sure that you go to mpix.com. They are the leaders in photography printing.
I love it.
You like how that just kind of mangled at the end?
Yeah, just
photography printing.
Smooth.
They are the best in photography printing. But anyway, Corey, please help us here.
We're going to get emails on that one. Okay. Recently, there was a movie called Lincoln that just came out. A small indie production. You probably heard of it.
Small.
Yes, small.
Petit.
Small feature. Anyway, the trailer actually had some really interesting text effects going on in there, and I actually played around with it in Photoshop, and using 3D achieved something very, very cool. So here I have the text element. We're going to go with the first name this time, since they've already done the last name, so we're going to go and do the first name. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and convert this to 3D. Now, before I do that, though, I'm going to fill the text with black, because I did it with white on a black background is because for the sake of visibility, because obviously you can't see it there. But the reason I want it to be black is that I want it to reflect fully what I'm going to add to the environment in this image. So it's a text layer, as you can see right here, and I've gone ahead and formatted the text where the first and last letter are a little bit larger and the baseline is a little bit different. So now we're going to, with that text layer selected, simply go to 3D, new 3D extrusion from selected layer. You can see it goes ahead and extrudes the text and created a shadow, which I actually do not need. So I'm going to go in the environment settings here and then bring that opacity down to 0. So the shadow will disappear. So I'm going to adjust a few things about the appearance of the 3D. So I'm going to select that text line item here in the 3D panel. And over here in the properties panel, and notice I keep these two together because they correspond with each other. Whatever you have selected in the 3D panel corresponds to the properties in the properties panel. That makes sense. So here you have the extrusion depth. I'm going to actually drop that to 10. Making it very thin, because I'm not really concerned with how a really deep 3D effect here. It's really all about the front face of the text. So with that selected, I'm going to go into the very top of the properties panel here, and there's these tabs up top here. We go over here to the one that says cap. And down here you see we have these inflate settings here. I'm going to go over here to the strength and really just kind of bump this up a little bit to around 15. Now you'll notice what happened to the front face of that text. It kind of bulged out a little bit. If you can see that, ever so slightly. Just kind of like bulge out the text a little bit. Now the reason I'm doing that is because I want it to have a curved surface to reflect the image I'm going to add to it in just a moment. Let's make sure I've got enough curve there. There, let's add a little bit more. Okay. So if I turn the background on, you can kind of see that text just kind of bulging out there. You can actually see that curvature a little bit better now. Here's the cool part. I'm going to go into the front inflation material here in the 3D panel and take the reflection up to 100%. And actually we'll bring the shine up to around 50 as well. So I'm going to go into the lights section, 4th tab over here, and by default when you create a 3D object it adds an infinite light, which lights the entire scene. I'm actually going to turn that off and everything goes dark because we're going to add an image-based light. But we're not going to add a file. We're going to add, actually, a movie clip. Now, I've got a video file here, and I'll just open this up real quick in Photoshop. You can see it is a simple stock video of these clouds. So I'm just moving my playhead through the timeline here, and it's just playing this cloud image. So what I'm going to do is in the Properties panel, in the Environment Settings, there is this IBL setting here at the top. I'm going to click on this little menu and choose Load Texture. And then locate that movie file and click Open. Now you can see what it's done. It shows you the image in the background just because it's showing you where that environment or an image-based light is placed. But here is the really cool thing. If I grab the 3D Rotate tool, you'll notice there's this little small sphere in the middle of the image. That represents your image-based light. And if I move it around, notice how the image moves around the text, giving it that kind of metal chrome look. Wow. But if I go into my timeline, if you go into the window menu, you have timeline here. I'm going to create video timeline. If I go and just take my playhead and run through here, you can see the video plays and that animates over that text. And this is just like it was in the actual trailer. So if I hit my space bar and let it do a render, you can see that that video is playing as that environment file, and it's just kind of animating over that text there, giving you that little bit of an effect of there. But why stop there?
I would be disappointed if you did.
So once we've got that element animating around the face of the text, we're going to go into the animation properties just by twirling down this little property setting here in the timeline. You'll notice we can animate 3D scene position. Actually, in this case, let's do the camera. So I'm going to click on the little stopwatch and sets a keyframe for the camera position. Now let's go into the 3D panel and make sure that we have our current view selected right here, which is our camera. And if I go and grab the 3D slide tool, I can move this back and forth in space like that, as you see. It looks like it's getting smaller and larger, but it's actually traveling back and forth in space. So I'm actually going to move it back a little bit further. And that's where I want the animation to start. I'm going to move my playhead to about the 3-second mark right here. And then back inside of here and click and drag down to bring that forward. And when I release my mouse, notice what happens. It automatically adds another keyframe because now it's changed the position from here to there. So if I go back over here and play this through, not only is that text animating forward in space, it is also playing that video file over the text. This is just like it did in the trailer. It had that text come up, and you could see the subtle little bit of movement in the text, and it was reflecting that environment as well as traveling forward like that. So just a little fun with motion graphics and video clips. Something to remember is that these support files, like environment and texture files on 3D objects, can support video. So you can actually add a little bit of life to your 3D objects in Photoshop by simply importing those QuickTime movies. Pretty cool stuff.
See, I think that's a great thing. I would have never thought that you could use a video file as a texture file in there to light it, and it just takes it to a whole
new level, and you're getting the kind of effects you would get from really high-end 3D applications in no time at all. So
Very, very cool.
isn't that neat?
I like. I've got a quick tip. That's all I got.
Really?
Some really small. Watch this. I'm going to click on File. I'm going to click on New. And right inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and use Film and Video. I want to use a series of presets. I'm going to go over here under my NTSC D1 square pixels. Right? I want to be able to create just a really small presentation that I want to share. Right? I'm going to click OK. And you're going to see that it gives me a set of guidelines. Now, that's not really the tip. The tip is here on the timeline section. If you want to create a video slideshow, best way for you to do it is just to come over here and click on Create Video Timeline. Right? You click on that, and now you can add pictures to this. But how many pictures? Right? If you click on the drop down here and you can click on Add Media, you can go and find a set of pictures that you want to add, right? So you can go and you can just, let's say, click on one picture there, and it'll add one picture. Right? So you'll see, we get there, there's one shot.
Is that a cake?
Yes,
It's a very cool cake.
If you click on the drop down and you click on Add Media, this is where the tip is. If I want to add a series of pictures, all I have to do is, you like that?
Yes.
That was me laying down, see? Look at that.
I want 20 of those.
You know what that is? That's my daughter taking pictures of, me when I'm laying in bed. She'll come over and she'll go, Daddy, and I'm like, yes. And I'm almost afraid of saying what's afterwards because she'll be like, smile.
Oh, no.
Click. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? But anyway, so if you want to take a series of pictures, though, take a look at this. I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to go and select a series of images. By selecting a series of images, you can automatically click on Open, and it takes all of them and it puts them with equal size.
One right after the other.
One right after the other.
Right
So
in sequence.
quick way for you to be able to kind of get through working with multiple images for slideshows in Photoshop.
It's great that it's that much easier, and it's worth noting that these features, video features, are available in both standard and extended versions of Photoshop.
They most absolutely are.
So really, the only reason to get extended is for 3D. So get it.
That's right. You should. You know what? 3D is not as, it can be involved, but it's not hard.
No, it's not. I mean, I mean, every day I'm discovering something new, and it's a lot easier than it seems. I know everybody says, well, you play with it all the time, but I haven't really had to go and really dig deep into any manuals. It's a lot of just going in there and trying something. And if you're really strongly familiar with Photoshop, you can really pick it up really fast.
I think one of the big fears is learning new terminology. True. Oftentimes, it's the terminology that keeps us from doing something, because we hear something like IBL, image-based lighting, and it scares us. It's like, oh, I don't know what that means. And all it means is you're using a picture to create the light and reflection on an object.
Precisely.
But those type of new terms will scare you until you get used to them.
Absolutely.
And so getting in there and play is the only way to get used to them.
That's how I learned. That's how I play. All right, let's take another break. We're going to come back, do a little bit of giveaways, and we will wrap things up. So we will be right back. Well, hi everyone, we are back, and RC's just having a little too much fun with his own sleeping image of himself.
Look at this. I'm putting grass in this area. Wow, look at the size of that chin. I'm covering that chin. Look at that. Watch.
Okay.
You know what?
And that's what we do all day.
I can't take myself serious. I have a 4-year-old. I can't take myself serious. There are dumb pictures of me everywhere because of it. Like, I used to be very self-conscious about...
It's not just because of your daughter.
Well, because I would know, but I would just say, I would be like, I was very self-conscious about having my pictures in different spots. I was like, I'd always be like, stand straight, suck the gut in, turn around, and do this kind of stuff until I had a kid.
Funny how having a kid gives you a pass on that sort of thing.
And I'm just like, ugh, I don't care, dude. I don't care. I'm done.
It's the reason big Hollywood actors do really stupid kid movies for their kids.
Really?
Yeah.
I think so.
Sadly.
All right, contest time.
All right. So what do we have to give away? Let's reach down into the prize vault.
We're going to reach down to the prize vault and give away a copy of Nick HDR FX Pro. What? We're getting that away right there. And we're also giving away All Access, your backstage pass to concert photography by Mr. Alan Hess.
Alan Hess.
So 2 books.
Alan's cool.
Alan is great.
He's got a gift.
That book is great. Yeah, if
He's
you
got
were
a gift at
interested
this
in
stuff.
doing concert photography, but I think it would even help people that are going to be shooting their kids' plays. They're going to be doing situations where they're shooting events inside. He's going to give you some great tips for there. So it's not just going to be for that one group of people that shoot concerts, but if you're thinking about shooting your kids or doing any of that, you can learn a lot from Alan's book.
Not to mention, has done the concert photography pre-con at Photoshop World, which always is a big hit because they actually do shoot a live band. It's a big electric cat. All right. How do you win these prizes? Go to kelbytv.com/contest. Go into the pull-down menu here and choose PhotoshopUser TV. Enter your name, email, website, and leave us a comment. Tell us what you'd like to see on the show, what you'd like to not see on the show, perhaps.
He's just fixing.
What kind of images you don't want to see. But we will pick a winner at random. You will win these fabulous prizes. I'm going to go ahead and close out the show before anything more embarrassing happens.
That looks really nice right there.
Right
Oh, there's
now.
the nostril.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys
Look
next time. Bye.
This is horrible. What is this? Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Wow. That's good.
Scary.
We're going to end on that. Anyway,
They buried you, everything but your face.
just go away. I'll see you guys next week.